How's it going, guys? Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be going over fleshing a whitetail cape for the taxidermy. One of the first steps that I like to do at this point, once I get the cape, it's been frozen. I just pulled it out of the freezer this morning. We just got home from work, so I'm starting on this now. Once this cape is thawed and everything like this, I like to spray it down. You can get this stuff called stop rot. You're just paying money for something that you can get at the Dollar General or your local Walmart or anything like that. But I just get this isopropyl alcohol and put a spray nozzle on it, and I'll go over this mount or over this cape. I just like to spray the eyes. That's going to be the first spot where you have any kind of like slippage or anything like that. Spray the mouth. Spray inside the ears. On the ears, wipe everything down. This is going to kill all that bacteria and slow down the process of rot, which starts, basically as soon as you kill the deer and the blood stops flowing, it starts. So you could even do this process with spraying this stuff when you kill the deer. Once you get it back to the house, you can go ahead and spray it down a little bit, and even before you put it in the freezer. It ain't going to hurt nothing. It'll help the process. All right, so now we're going to turn this cape inside out. All right, so basically on this fleshing process, what we do, everything has to be turned inside out. Your nose has to be turned, your nostrils here have to be turned, the eyelids have to be turned. Well, basically when you say you're turning it, everything has to be cut down. Like this is all this skin kind of creates a fold, if you will. Like you can see on this lip here, that lip has to be opened up all the way to this edge. Get all that flesh out of there, and then you can go in there with salt everything, and it will pull all the oils and stuff out of the skin to start the tanning process. So first thing you'll need, I just go to the local Rural King here in town and get these razor blades from Stanley. I typically use about 3 per cape. When I first started doing this stuff, I could use 1. So it seems like the quality of our steel, it keeps going down and down every year. So I take out 3 of these razor blades, go ahead and get them open, set them aside. Because the sharper the blade, the easier it cuts, and the less you have to worry about cutting through your hide, which will happen. I'll show you on some of the other videos. If you do cut a hole into something, it's nothing into the world. You can. All right, next thing I do is I use this right here, this borax. I just keep it in a bowl, fill a bowl up with it. And what I use this for is this cape, this hide. Let me turn this down a little bit. This hide is super slimy, as you would imagine. So by using this right here, it coats my fingers, and you can sprinkle it on this cape. It pulls a lot of that moisture off of it. It makes it to where you can handle it a lot easier. And this stuff that borax is cheap. So don't be afraid to use it. All right, pull this thing in here. I'll try to get as best a view on this as I can. All right, so the first thing, where I start, you can start anywhere. You can start on the ears, the eyes. My always first start point is always the septum, the center of the deer nose. When it's turned, that's right side out. We're gonna take this septum out. I just use these little blades like this. I don't have any kind of special holder for them, but you just cut that septum out. Borax on the fingers. Okay, septum is gone. Now that that septum is gone, you can see where it was. I'll stick my finger inside the nostril here. I'm trying to get the best angle here. I stick my finger inside the nostril from the inside. And then you got, this is right here is all like the harder, gristly kind of part of the inside of the nose. And you just start opening this up. You want to peel this open. So basically where this skin right here is turned in, you want to open that all the way back to the skin on the inside. I'll try to do this as slow as I can. I normally go through this stuff pretty quick, but anywhere you see this skin where it's starting to stretch, just like you would skinning the deer hide off of a deer, it's the same concept. You're just going to turn, just walk around this nostril. And with your finger on the inside, you know where to stop cutting because you can feel the blade getting closer to your skin or to your fingertip. All right, so that nostril is basically turned inside out now. Of course, we'll have to come back and pull a lot of this flesh off. And then we'll come over here to this other side. See how that one's been turned, this one hasn't. All right, now we'll start on this other side. I always start with this gristly flap first. Gives you something to kind of hold on to and pull over. If you decide to try to do this stuff on your own, if you cut a hole in this area, it's not the end of the world. One thing about a taxidermist, once you start getting into it, if you decide to try this stuff out, is you learn to fix mistakes. I mean, I've had people bring deer in that were shot in the face, and by the time the mount was finished, you couldn't even tell. It takes a little bit of know-how and experience and time, but all right, so there we go. Those nose nostrils there are turned out. All right, so now the next part, we're going to do these lips. Now you can see this would be the inside of the mouth right here. This is the bottom of the lip, the edge of this black line right there. So what we want to do is run our razor blade behind this stuff all the way to the edge. So we can turn this lip completely out, get all that meat and stuff out of there. And this is what we would use when we, in the mounting process, what we tuck into the form around the mouth. So I always start in the corner of the mouth, right in here. And this is all going to be coming off, but I just cut through it. And then I'll pinch with these two fingers and pinch with my thumb on the back side. And just run this razor blade, and you can pretty much tell when you're getting close to the edge and when to stop. But I'll run that down like this. And if you cut all the way through here, it's like I said, it's not the end of the world. This is how you learn. But anyway, so let me get some more of this borax. It starts to get slimy on the inside of these lips now that they've been freshly opened. You can see right here when I stretch this skin out, it's kind of like a ridge right here where I didn't get all the way to it. So what I like to do is I put my fingertips right on that ridge. That ridge is running right through here. And you just slowly slice in here. You can feel the ridge on the other side, so you might have to keep adjusting your fingertips till you get that ridge flattened out. You want that salt to be able to penetrate. Once you get this all fleshed out, we'll salt it. And you want that salt to be able to penetrate all the way through the skin to these hair follicles. That's what's going to help set the hair and get all these oils and stuff out of the hide. And then that'll be nice and flat, still trying to hold a little bit right there. And then it'd be nice and flat right there. All right, we're going to do this all the way around. It's nice and quiet in here. I normally have my radio going, but I guess if you have music playing, you get caught with copyright stuff, so kind of ridiculous, but just keep working our ways all the way around the mouth here. I'm getting out of frame. Let's see here. And then we're back to the other corner right here. Trying to get this angle just right so you can see it pretty good. Get some more borax. This is that other corner of the mouth. Come in here. Now once we get up here to the front lip, this is where it can kind of get a little bit trickier. Like right there, I just cut through it a little bit. But that's okay, because this right here is all going to be tucked. All this part right here is going to be tucked in, so. But the more you have to work with, the better. So what I like to do here, when it gets in this thin spot of this front lip right here, is I'll pinch, rather than spreading it apart like this and cutting, what I'll do is I'll pinch the lip just like this, and I'll push this razor blade in carefully, and then with the pinching pressure, I can basically kind of direct and know how far my blade is going in, if that makes sense. So I'll just kind of keep working it in, pinching that blade, and work my way around this lip. That gets you. Then once you get to that point, that's the inside of the lip, then it pretty much folds open pretty much to the edge. I will still have a little bit left to go, so I'll turn that inside out. And this will probably take a little bit to figure out exactly which direction to cut into it. You can cut through that front lip pretty easy. Okay. Well, that has the lips turned and the nostrils turned. Let's touch a few spots up here. I go back, I'll turn everything, and then I'll go back and get all this flesh off. All right, the next part, they're going to be the eyes. So this is the inside of the eye. This would be on the inside of the eyeball, kind of wrapped around the eyeball on the inside. This is what we're going to use to tuck into the form when we mount it. So we don't want to cut this stuff off. What I like to do, stick my finger in the eye. And what we want to do is cut right along in here. I put my finger on this eyelid right here. So I put my finger in here, and I'm going to cut down towards that eyelid carefully, because this is thin, soft skin. And what the idea to do is to cut this pretty close to where the eyelashes come in. That way we can get salt down to those eyelashes to set them into those eyelids. Okay. So I can see the back of the eyelids, or the eyelashes are right here. So that's as close as I'm going to go in this process to those eyelashes. I'm going to do the bottom eyelash or eyelid. You can see that those are the back side of the eyelashes right there. That's where we'll stop right there. It's all right. So this eye has been turned. Now we'll come over here to this one. Get some more borax on it. Just makes it easier to work with. We'll do the same thing, just repeating that process. And you can see that coloration difference right there. That is your eyelashes right there on the back side. So I don't want to go any closer than that right now. That salt will get in there, no problem. And then we'll do the top side. All right, and you can see that again. The coloration there where those eyelashes are. That's where we're going to stop on that right there. All right, so that's got those turned. Now we're going to turn the ears. The ears have to be turned completely inside out. Let's see here. All the way to the edge of the ear. All the way to the edge. So the process we'll do here, get some, that's how I like to do it. All this meat's got to go anyway, so I'll start back here with all this bigger meat. I'm just going to start a big circle all the way around this ear. Just like you would be skinning the hide off the deer, you just pull that stuff and cut at the connecting tissue as it stretches. If you, like I said too, on this stuff, if you cut a hole in the cape, it's not the end of the world. Taxidermy can be very forgiving. Deer hair is long. Now, if you did that on an early season cape, like in a velvet hunt, or then those can be a little bit harder to hide. But the biggest thing is just taking your time, especially if you're new at it. I'm trying to keep my stuff in the frame here. Just keep cutting all the way around. It's a little tricky to do this when you're trying to keep it in the camera angle right. You Just keep cutting it all the way around. Now on this front part of the ear, when you start fleshing this back, you don't want to cut into this bottom crease of the ear where it meets right here at the base. It's easy to cut through it if you kind of get ahead of yourself. So what I like to do is stick my finger right in that crease of the ear, and when I pull this hide back, I cut towards my finger, and I know when I'm getting close, obviously, because you can tell the distance in where your finger's at to the blade. Just keep cutting back. And my finger is right in here. So I know that I'm right there at the corner of that ear, not to cut any deeper, as you're going to cut through that and you'll have a hole. Work your way. Now if you do cut a hole there, it's not the end of the world. It's actually pretty easy to hide right there. I'm just going to keep working around the ear. Again, I'll put my finger in here, make sure I don't cut too far. It's easy to get this thing twisted up, but you keep spinning it the same direction, then you end up running out of hide. All right, so now we're getting into the actual cartilage of the ear here. This being the back side of the ear. I like to take it up as far as I can get it like this. And once I can see a little bit of this cartilage here, about a 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch or so, what I'll do is I'll come in with my razor blade and starting over here. Now that skin is attached. You can see that it's attached. It is hard to pull that stuff apart sometimes. But to make it a little bit easier turning these ears, which is this, I actually picked up this little tip off of watching a video from Ben Mears with Mears Whitetail Forums. But the tip was you cut the skin right on the back. You don't want to cut all the way through that cartilage, but you just cut the skin, the outer layer of this connective tissue. This damn blade is already dull. Very carefully. You don't want to cut all the way through that ear butt or that cartilage into the inside of the ear. And then once you do that, I'll take the back corner of this and kind of push on that skin against that ear butt or that cartilage. And it'll start to pull it loose from that cartilage. And once I get it fairly broke loose, I'll come in here with some more borax and I'll put a bunch of it in there. And then what I'll do to turn this ear inside out, I stick my thumb, stick it right inside that ear right there and just push. And you're kind of doing like a push and pulling out motion to separate that skin from the back of that ear. So push in and then pull your thumb up. And I'm almost all the way to the tip of the ear right there. Now they make these little metal handled ear splitters that you can push in here and squeeze them. I had more problems blowing out the back of deer ears doing that, especially early season when these dudes are full of ticks and they got that skin gets so thin with all that tick damage in the holes that they just rip out easy. So I like doing it like this. Once I saw that little tip, here that one right there is holding tight. So what we're gonna do, there she goes. All right, and then I'll start pulling it inside out. And once I get to this point, put a little more borax in here. We can get good grip. And instead of just trying to turn it in all the way out, I'll go in here with both of my fingers, you can see that, and just keep pulling it all the way to the tip, or as close as I can get it. This one's trying to rip out. I think it has some tick damage, or old tick damage on it. Once we get to that point, it's trying to rip right there on this edge. So then we got to pull this skin all the way to the edge of the ear on both sides. I'll just take my thumb with my nail and just keep pulling it. And you can see the edge of that cartilage. That's when you know you've gone all the way. Sometimes at the base of these ears, this cartilage here starts to turn in on the front of that ear. Sometimes some of them will pull apart perfect, and some deer ears they'll fight you just about the whole dang way. Just depends. And if you get somebody that's left their deer in the freezer for 1.5 years, 2 years before they decide to take it to a taxidermist, and then you got freezer burnt ears, and those can be a nightmare to turn. This one here is not being that easy. Okay, we just keep rolling that thing all the way around. This one got a little bit of freezer burn in it. You can see where it's all darker and discolored. It's really dry in there. So, all right, and once I get to this point right here, to turn that tip out, this is a handle off of a paintbrush, just like an artist paintbrush. And once the tip goes bad or something, I'll just take the tip off and I'll use these handles. And what you can do is stick it right in the ear hole where it was cut off the deer head. Stick it right in there. Let's see, pull this up. So with that ear like that, I'll stick that right in the bottom and put it on something firm. And then I'll start on the edge where it's already been turned. It's already turned all the way out right here. I'll start on that edge and just slowly pull down. And you can watch on the edge right here that skin will slowly open up. You can see it kind of turn white there. Really careful. And it happens that when you're doing this, you'll pull a little bit too hard and it'll blast right through the tip of that ear. But don't worry, it doesn't matter, especially if you're doing ear liners or something, I mean, you can hide holes on the edge of the ear super easy. So we'll work the edges, make sure we got the edges turned all the way out. All right, now that one is turned all the way out. And then we'll cut off all this meat right here at the base here. I just go around the edge here. Try to cut as much meat off as possible. Okay. All right, well, that's got enough off for that to show that purpose. All right, now we're gonna come over here and do this other ear. Same thing. I'll just start that circle on the outside. These blades dull so fast, it's unreal. Okay. Makes a huge difference when you have a sharp blade. Just keep going all the way around it, just like on the last one. And then just like on the last one, I'm gonna stick my finger right in the crease of that ear, right in the front, at the lowest point. So that when I cut in right here, you don't want to cut a hole. My finger is right here. That's the bottom of the ear right there. If I cut any more right there, it'll go through. And you got a hole to hide. So. Just keep going around. And we're back at that corner. Okay. And then we'll do, like on the last one, right there where this, that cartilage part is, right above the muscle, where you go through there, you just carefully score that top layer of connective tissue. You don't want to cut through the cartilage. All the way around. get to that, I just turn the blade over and push that skin forward. Start to breaking it loose. You can see where it pulls loose right here. You can see the inside of that cartilage right there. Once I get that to break loose, put a little borax in there. Put that thumb in there. Remember, I'm doing that, pushing in and all at the same time. So it's pulling that ear, or pulling that skin off that cartilage. Pull it inside out. I'll keep that ear, I don't pull it all the way out yet. I'll go in here and open it up. This one got a little freezer burning on the tips too, where it was starting to dry out. And then I'll work the edges, work these edges with your fingernail. Just keep pulling until you get to the edge. Now this front part of the ear, where it wraps around, a little more difficult to pull up, but go in here with your blade real carefully. Peel this open. This one definitely had some freezer damage where that's okay. We'll get around to it. Okay, now that's the back side there. You can see the edge of that cartilage. Now it's like paper thin. So that's how you know, you can feel it too when you run your finger over it. There's no kind of like a lump or a ridge. If it's not folded out all the way, when you go to rub your finger on it, you'll feel that little ridge. And you'll know that it hadn't been folded all the way out or turned all the way out. And we'll do this the other side, same way. All right, and then on this top side here, we'll peel it a little more open. You can see this right here is really dry looking. All right, and then on that tip, that paintbrush handle again going in there. And then slowly, start on the edge. Just slowly work again. Okay. You can run your fingers over here. Just keep feeling it. All right. And that ear is good to go. Now we'll cut the flesh off of this one. Throw all the meat off the butt of the ear butt. Now one thing we'll go over too on another video is the muscle structure on the ear butt, which comes into play when you start the mounting process, because you're going to build these ear butts back up with clay. So you have to know how, a lot of deer you see mounted, the ear butts are way too big. They just put way too much clay in those ear butts, and their ear butts stick way off the side of their head. The mountain just looks like trash if you know what you're looking at. But that's all the meat that's on an ear butt. It's not that much. So when you see these deer with these big old knots under their ears, it's not accurate. And when you're trying to do an accurate deer mount and have it look as real as possible, then you want to put it back. So whatever you take off, you got to put back, but knowing the right way to put it back and the muscle, the way the muscle goes around these ear butts, well, that'll be another video. All right, now we got everything turned. Now we got to start cutting all this meat. All this meat here has got to come off the face. What I'll do is I'll use my razor blade to cut everything from basically the ears and the eyes on the face. And then I'm going to take the hide outside and pressure wash the hide with a pressure washer and blow all that meat and fat and blood off this hide. So I'll show you how to do that here in the end of that video, or at the end of this video. But typically I like to come around, I'll put some more of this alcohol on here. Now when you start working on the hide like this, the faster you can get it done, the better, because like your hands are warm and have bacteria on them. So the more you handle the hide like in one spot, you can actually feel the hide start to warm up. Typically I would already be done fleshing all this stuff out, but I'm kind of doing a little bit slower with the camera so that y'all can see it a little better. So if you're working in an area and you can feel the hide getting a little bit warm, the best thing to do is maybe move to another spot. Like if you do this eye for a minute and you're trying to take your time as you're learning, it starts getting warm, stop what you're doing, spray some alcohol on it, and then go to the other eye for a minute. Give this eye time to cool off a little bit, and then you can maybe go to the nostrils. And as you do this more, you'll be more efficient and you won't have to worry about that. But you just don't want to have skin around these eyes start peeling off or any kind of slippage or anything like that, because then the mount is going to look kind of a little rough. So, but all this skin has to come off. Everything on the face down to the skin. So I just start around the eyes here like this. Just pick a spot. I'm going to try to show this best I can. Just as you get down to the skin, I always use my thumb to kind of peel the hide back. Just keep putting the borax on there. It'll give you something to grip. If you try it without borax, you'll see what I'm talking about, because this skin gets really slimy. It's just harder to hold on to. Now, you don't have to get every little piece of meat off, but we're going to try to get a really good portion of it off. Because we'll get all the stuff off after the pickling process. Then we go into the shaving, and then we're going to shave the skin thinner for the mounting process. So. All right, so you can kind of see the difference there from this eye to this eye, all the muscle tissue that I've taken off. Now, if you wanted to use like a scalpel or something like that, I just didn't like having like a pencil kind of scalpel blade in my hand. I can do this right here and go through it pretty quick. So. And these things are cheap. You can buy 100 blades for like $6. They ought to be cheaper than that as fast as they dull, but it is what it is. They just keep Working around. That stuff starts getting slimy. Put you some borax on there. Okay. Well, that's pretty much the whole forehead has been fleshed off. I'll come in here, get all this stuff around the eye. Just want to take your time on this stuff when you're first learning, guys, because cuts in the face are a lot harder to hide. Well, on early season deer, they're really hard to hide, but late season deer aren't as bad. But if you start cutting around the eyes, like if you cut in the hair part here, it's not so bad. But when you cut into this real thin skin around here, then you're going to be working a little bit more trying to hide that with epoxy sculpt or something like that. But I mean, I'm sure it'll happen, but you'll learn the process the more you do it. Okay. Oh, get out of the frame. Let's see here. Now when you get to this part of the mouth where you're leading in to the corner of the mouth, when you start peeling this off, be careful when you get to this corner. It's actually pretty easy to cut the corner of the mouth open. The skin gets really thin. So you can kind of feel around when you get close to the edge. And when I get close to the edge, I'll just cut the meat off. I'm not gonna get too close. That's the next process I'll show you. We'll get all that stuff cut off. Get rid of that. So you can see now the whole side of that jaw line right there is cleaned off. Now we're gonna go from the front of that eye, down the front part of the jaw, upper jaw, down to the nose. Oh, air compressor's kicking on. Okay. Get another blade. We're gonna get all this flesh and stuff off this nose pad right here. Everything's gotta go. Just be careful because that nose pad is super thin. Start from this nose, other side of this nose, work our way back. Just keep going. Get rid of some of that stuff as it builds up. Get this stuff at the bottom jaw. Now pretty much on that bottom jaw right here, I'll make a line about right here and then flesh forward. All this stuff right here at the bottom of the neck and the underneath where like the crease of the neck would be, I'll get all that with the pressure washer and it'll come super clean. So I'm not gonna worry about that, but I'll just step in here. Good thing about the pressure washer, I know some of the older school taxidermists don't like it, but man, it does a good job. It gets all that meat off, all the flesh. It helps wash the blood out of the hide, which in turn, once you salt it and everything, and then rehydrate it, you get a nice cleaner pickle process out of it, which is what you want. You don't want an old dirty nasty pickle. Just you're kind of makes your hides dingier, I think. Cleaner the process you have, the better the quality mount you're gonna have, better looking it's gonna look. You know, I've seen deer mounts. I had a buddy of mine that started bringing his deer to me to do, and he used a guy that would use the same pickle for, I didn't know tell him how many deer. And his hides always looked just rough, nasty, dingy. All right, now on this bottom part of the chin, I don't like to flesh this part out that thin because this skin is really easy to cut through. What I like to do to get the salt to penetrate better, let me get this last little piece off here. This is a lot of hair follicles and stuff for all these chin hairs. It's kind of a different texture, but I like to come in here with my blade and just make little scores and kind of open that up a little bit so that salt can get down in there. You got to be careful doing it though, because you can cut a hole through your chin pad pretty quick. You can kind of see that. I just kind of open it up so the salt can get in there. Never had an issue with that creating any slippage or anything. That's pretty much the gist of it in here. Now we're fixing to go outside. Set this dude up on the pressure washer and use that turbo tip to blow all the rest of this meat off of this hide. Okay, so let's see here. Now we're going to go outside. Now you can see this cape. I mean, it's got all the grass and everything else. But all this meat, all this tissue has to come off down to where it's bare skin so we can salt it. So we're gonna go outside and I'll show you that process. So you can see before and after. All right, now when I'm doing this pressure washing, you'll notice I always do the head first. But what I'll do with my wand on here, when I start with this turbo tip, I'll work my edges just like this, straight down on both sides. And then once I get that, I have broken loose from anything being able to fly off to the side. And then I'll come through here like this and peel all that stuff off in the center. If you don't do that and you just keep starting from one side and go around, all this flesh will kind of peel off in one big mass, and it's kind of, it makes it harder to work with. So here we go. Let me get started up and I'll show you how to do it. That's pretty much it. Gets it nice and clean. Gets all that blood sprayed out of it. Now we're going to take it inside, wring it out, and salt it. Once I get it inside, hang it up here over this sink. And cut some of this stuff off. Now you ain't got to have it set up like I got to do taxidermy work. I do a lot of it. So I kind of, we process all of our own deer as well, so it gives us a place to do all of this stuff. Cut some of this excess stuff off. Alright, but you can see right there, I got that hide nice and clean. And what I'll do is I'll just squeeze as much water as I can off of it. Some people don't like the pressure washing. They say the water is going to speed up the rotting process. Moisture in the field is bad because moisture in the field will inhibit or speed up the bacteria growth, which can cause hairs like slippage and stuff on the mount. When it's controlled in the shop like this, you're doing this, and then you're immediately afterward you're putting salt on it, which salt's going to kill all that stuff. So the next process is going to be salting it. Alright, so this right here is my salt table. Just a old little wheel cart. Lay this thing out here. I got a whole tote right here. You can get this salt. I get the ag salt for like cattle and stuff. I get the white stuff from the local co-op. And it's cheap. You don't want to use iodized table salt. You just want regular salt. I'm going to go over this hide really well. Get every little nook and cranny of the skin. So like I said, the salt B, use the salt. Salt is cheap. Don't be skimping on it. This process here, you don't want to do it wrong. Ears, eyes, nose. I'll take that eye skin, pull it up, make sure it gets on both sides. Once you got all that, make sure you got everything. Like there where we did cut those slots in the chin, make sure you get the salt down and all that stuff good. Go all the way to the edge. Put that skin out. If you have any of that loose stuff that you can pull off, pull it off. Alright. Once you get it salted really good, I actually have a barrel right over here. I've got a hide hanging already. Let's see. I've got a barrel right here that I hang my hides over. This is old tobacco stick. I'll just take this hide just like this and hang it like this inside this barrel. And it will drain. It'll pull all these oils out in the next 24 hours. Everything will drip in that barrel there. And you can see here, I've had quite a few hides in it, but that barrel is, probably got a foot's worth of oil from other hides. And this is a hide that's already been hanging. This one's nice and hard. And, I'll show it on another video how I start the hydrating process on those to rehydrate it to go into the pickle. So now that we get to this point, that is it for the fleshing, power washing, salting, and then we'll let it hang to get all the oils out of it, and then we'll pick up the next process on the next video. Well, that pretty much sums up the fleshing process, from turning the lips, the nose, the eyes, the ears, fleshing off the face, and then the pressure washing and the salting. So if there's any other questions you have, leave that in the comment section, and if there's anything else you want me to cover in that process or those processes that I can do a better job on, just let me know, guys, and I can do my best to do that. I'm going to keep trying to post some more videos of this whole taxidermy process. And if that's something that you might get interested in with your family, it's actually, I look forward to be able to doing it with my son and my daughter. And it's just something to add on to like at the end of deer season. You know, it kind of ends right there when it's cold enough you can't really do a whole lot outside. So if you have your deer hides in the freezer and you don't want to take them to a taxidermist, and you can learn this process, start mounting your own deer, and you start seeing your own artwork on the wall from the deer that you mounted. Kind of have a sense of pride to go with that you were the only ones at the whole process of the deer, from scouting to hunting to harvesting the deer. If you process your own meat, I know a lot of people are super busy. It's hard for them to get into all of the processes. But we try to do as much as we can here. And I'm going to try to cover all that through all these videos. So appreciate your time, guys. Thanks.